Morning, guys and gals. It's Big T here today with another cigar review after my hiatus. Totally unintentional. Well, I guess it wasn't so unintentional. Work's kept me busy, so trying to get back into this here now that got a little downtime. Got a nice 2 week long sort of vacation deal coming up. Got a wedding for a buddy to go to, and I'm going to travel down south again this year, so hopefully I'll get some video time in there as well as some much needed relaxation. Anyway, so on this grand and glorious morning, today is Friday, payday, favorite day of the week. Today we are going to be smoking, that's right, a great cigar. I'll let the Pictionary do the talking, in case you didn't catch that. It's a great cigar. So, pick these up, local B&M. I want to say is about 50. No, maybe not quite 50. Maybe it was like 45 and some change for a bundle of 20. Makes a nice yard gar. I've had a few of these already. This is supposed to be the Maduro version. I believe they have 3 versions: a Maduro, a Connecticut, and Corojo, maybe. It's got very subtle barnyard smell on the wrapper. Kind of like a musty sweet tobacco on the foot. Just the slightest little hint of like green tobacco in there as well. So I don't know much about the blend on this one. All I know is it is 100% long filler, and that's really all about that's about all I know about it, guys. I didn't do too much homework on it. The wrapper's fairly thin. It's got some imperfections, but like I said, it's a bundle cigar, so I'm not looking for it to be pretty. I actually got these as just kind of a thing for Buddy's bachelor. I almost said bachelorette. Got them as a thing for Buddy's bachelor party. Him and I ended up being the only ones that smoked them. I've given a few away. I've smoked a few. Out of the few that I've smoked, which I've smoked about 3 or 4 of them, they've all been somewhat different. And I guess that's kind of what you get with a bundle cigar, right? Nothing's ever exactly the same. So, it's got kind of a thin wrapper, very veiny. It's not necessarily like it's definitely not an Oscuro wrapper. Definitely well within the range of Maduro, though. It's a nice torpedo cap on there. It's kind of not really sloppy. It's just kind of lumpy and bumpy. Anyway, so let's get this cut up and see where we go. One thing I do like about these nice torpedo styles is that it kind of gives you a wide range rather of where you can cut these things. So I like to kind of start out small. I just start out with a little bit. I kind of work my way up as the cigar progresses. A lot of it kind of depends on the draw too. If you cut a little bit off the tip and you end up with a tighter draw than what you're looking for, there's always room to cut further down. Whereas if you were to cut off too much and you got too light of a draw, well, it's not exactly as if you can glue it back on now, is it? So this is, sorry, I forgot what side of the phone the camera's on. This is about all I took off of there, just this little tiny piece. And as you can see, that's kind of like the underside of the cap. And then I had a little bit of tobacco that came out with it, so not too bad. So that draws a little tight for me. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it just a wee bit more. There we go. That's about right. Got a little bit of tobacco on the tongue there. It's from the end of the cap. So that's about how I like to cut them. So all in all, I mean, you got what we cut off before, and then all I really cut off that time was just this little tiny piece. So you don't have to cut much off. Use my trusty Cigar double guillotine. I love this cutter. So nice. Good investment. Rather cheap. I think I bought it on Amazon for, I don't know, 20 bucks or something. Cold draw. Got sweet tobacco with that slight mustiness that I mentioned that was on the foot. Still getting little tidbits on my tongue here. It's the only thing about the bundle cigars, guys. I mean, you get what you pay for, and bundle cigars, average. So yeah, sweet tobacco. This particular one, now not all of them, like I said, they've ranged a little bit, so each one's a little different. This one in particular, though, it does leave a slight bit of like a peppery tinge on the tip of your tongue. And almost like a slight antiseptic taste in there as well. Alright, let's go ahead and get her fired up using our trusty Vertigo. Can't really see the label on there. Oop. Vertigo. Quad jet. Baby works like a charm every time. This is my favorite lighter now. I've had quite a few, as some of you may know. Keep them all in a box in case the mood strikes that I want to try and revive some of them, but lately this has been my go-to. Quad jet's not always what you need, but it definitely gets the job done every time. One of the other things I like about this lighter too, it's got a little mirror under the lid. Now granted, it comes loose sometimes. I have yet to glue it back in all the way, but it's kind of nice because then when you're lighting your cigar, you can actually tilt it back. Now obviously I have the camera in front of me so I can see either way, but you can kind of tilt it back and see the head of the cigar. And then it kind of gives you an idea of how well toasted you are while you're lighting. Kind of nice. I like this lighter. Oh, and it does have the classic built-in punch in the bottom of it as well. Works well. So right off the bat, on the retro, you got just a slight pepper burn kind of through the nostrils when you do the retro there. It's got that kind of antiseptic, like a medicinal antiseptic flavor in there. And, oh, I kind of lied. So I do know one thing. There is Dominican, I don't remember if it's the wrapper, if it's part of the long filler in this, but does have Dominican in it. So it has, it's got some Dominican twang. For those of you who may watch either the Meat in the Middle show or Mac 912, you guys know exactly what I'm talking about when I say Dominican twang. And I think sometimes with other cigars, when you get like that leathery flavor. The first time I smoked this particular cigar, I was kind of thinking that's what was it. But then once I looked up the makeup of it, I was like, oh, Dominican, of course. So also on the retro right off the bat here, it kind of has like a kind of hard to describe. Not really like a toasted flavor, or not really like a barbecue, but almost kind of like kind of reminds me of like wet charcoal. If you know what like wet charcoal smells like after you cook out and then maybe you left the lid open on the grill or something and then it rained overnight. Kind of how the coals and stuff smell in the morning. It's kind of what the flavor tastes like. Alright guys, I'm going to smoke on this a little bit more, and I'll be back. Hold tight. Alright guys, we're back. So, I'm well into the first third here, as you can see. It's burning pretty even. Not too bad. Got a little bit of a shelf on the back side there, but nothing too horrible. Mascara line on this one, I don't know, I think it's fairly thin, but it's definitely not non-existent. So it's definitely been aged a little bit. So I did do some homework on this one for you real quick. So this is the 6x52. As I said, it's a Torpedo Maduro. So it made mention in the comments in there that it's 100% Cuban seed. I'm not sure what cigar isn't 100% Cuban seed, but so it's got the San Andreas wrapper, which is where we get that Dominican twang, and then the filler is a mix of Dominican San Victor and Olar long fillers. Not exactly sure what San Victor or Olar is. Whatever. It's Dominican. A lot of Dominican. And then the San Andreas wrapper. So for the Dominican twang, which I'm still getting, it's kind of a constant throughout these buggers. So I've kind of narrowed it down. It's kind of like a metallic earthiness. So if you can think of like the earthy, kind of muddy, grassy, dirty flavor, with just the slightest bit of metallic on the front end of it. Get like that metallic taste in the beginning, and then it kind of spreads out. Sorry, a little saliva buildup there. Kind of spreads out on the tongue and leaves more of an earthy after flavor. Other than that, I'm getting definitely some cedar notes in there. Kind of like some toasted cedar. Maybe like almost like a little bit of a toasted nut flavor. Nothing too bad. So as you can tell by the ash here, as some of my fellow cigar reviewers have said, this looks to be kind of like it's pretty white, light gray ash, but it is definitely flaky. So definitely watch out for that if you're smoking these. I can tell you from experience, they have a tendency to fall off on your lap once they get to about an inch and a half. So just watch out for that. So this shelf I'm talking about here on the back end, where it's kind of not canoeing or tunneling, just kind of burning a little uneven. I have not touched this up yet. It has evened itself out thus far. So see how well that goes for the rest of the cigar. So it's definitely not a bad cigar. At this point, I don't know if I would say that it's a great cigar. It's definitely worthy of the name Yardgar. If you're going to go out, cut the grass, or do some yard work, I don't know, some around the house type of stuff. Definitely just something to smoke. Doesn't have any like pow, kick in the face flavors or anything like that. The strength right now on it, so the strength being the nicotine level, the kind of buzz you're getting from it. Strength right now, we're talking very mild. It's not a whole lot of strength to it. Body being the intensity of the flavor. It's definitely got that Dominican twang. That's your primary flavor in there. So that kind of like that metallic earthiness. It's pretty much what you're getting from it. Like I said, a little bit of cedar, a little bit of toasted nut. That's about it. Maybe just a slight hint of graphite. Slight hint of like a graphite flavor in there, but that might also be part of that Dominican twang. So as far as price, let me do a little math here. Hold on, let me see if I can figure this out. Yeah, so I mean, when I looked them up online, I saw some 5-pack deals for about $19.99 a 5-pack. Call it $20. So you're looking at, what is that, $4 a stick? It's not too bad, I guess. $4 a stick is more than what I paid for these in a bundle, I can tell you that much. And I got the bundle at the local B&M, Wild Bill's Tobacco. I know Brother Lee Mac 912 did a review on the barber pole version, so I also looked up those for you. So this comes in 3 different types. You've got the Maduro, and then you've also got a barber pole, which is just a Dominican mix, and then there's a Connecticut version as well. So 3 different versions. Now that I've tried the Maduro, I wouldn't mind trying the Connecticut. I definitely won't buy a whole bundle of them. But I might get a couple just to kind of see what they're like of the Connecticut version. And then the barber pole, I'm not a big fan of those. Some of them look pretty interesting. I've always wanted to try Asylum's Ogre. But I've had the CAO America, which was a good cigar. It wasn't a bad cigar, but the barber pole, because it has the 2 different wrappers on it, it's a burning nightmare. I tell you, from construction standpoint, they don't like to stay even. I'm kind of a meticulous guy when it comes to my cigars. I like them to burn even. So even like the shelf on the back of this one, it bugs me a little bit. But I'm going to try not to touch it up as long as I can. Try to keep the integrity of the construction of this cigar intact for you guys until it gets too horrible. Then I might have to adjust it. But so pairing session. Some nice ice water today in my Federated Auto Parts cup. Big shout out to Federated Auto Parts. I buy all my auto parts from there. Great parts at great prices. Can't go wrong. That, and I got family that works there, so that's nice too. It's always nice when you got family at the auto parts store. Cigar's definitely got great smoke output. So right there, it was starting to go out a little bit, so I think maybe the ash is choking off some of the airflow. So I might have to tip it off here in just a minute. But as I was talking about that shelf, I know it still looks like a drastic angle, but from eyesight, it is actually trying to taper off a little bit. That'd be the neighbor. It's the best thing about living in an apartment. There's never a lack of loud vehicles going by. Alright, so I'm going to smoke on this a little more, guys, and then I'll be back. Hold tight. Alright. Catch the camera from the other side this time. So the ash is getting kind of long. That burn is starting to even out. Well, maybe slightly. Still has a little bit of a shelf on it, but not bad. So the flavors are getting a little muddled now, and as you can see, that ash is flaking right in there. So I'm going to go ahead and tip the ash off. We'll see what that does for our flavor here. So the cigar flavors are definitely transitioning into a more deeper earth tone. So right about after that first half inch, that spiciness I was talking about, that peppery through the nasal passages, kind of tapered off a little bit. I forgot to mention that. So the spiciness tapered off just a little bit there at the beginning, and now it's starting to come back now that we're about, I don't know, a good inch or two in. Hi, baby. Excuse me, folks. Baby's up. Hold on. Alright, guys, I'm back. So, family comes first. Daughter's up now. She was sleeping, so had to get her some breakfast and a glass of milk and all that good stuff. So, in the process of that, cigar's going out. No big deal. A lot of people are going to go, you can't light that back up. You're not supposed to do that. Once it's out, it's out. You leave it. Nah, bruh. It's my cigar. I can do what I want with it. So if I am ever going to light something off of, it went out and I'm going to relight it. So the first thing I do is I'm going to try to toast the foot a little bit more. And then I'm going to do a purge. So we're going to give it a little toasty. A little bit of foot heat, if you will. And then for the purge, I usually kind of hold the lighter down at an angle, and then you're going to blow through the cigar. What that kind of does is it kind of pushes out any of the gases and stuff that are trapped in the cigar that might leave you with a little bit of a fouler taste. I don't know if you can catch that on the video or not, but you'll see almost like a purple and orange flame. It kind of, you can see when the gases come out because it kind of ignites the flame on the lighter a little bit more. Once it stops doing that, then you're ready to rock and roll. Good as new. That black pepper kind of kick, still in the retro, and it's also kind of lingering on my tongue now. So I don't know if that's a result of putting it out and lighting it back up, or what it is. So I will say this, after letting the cigar go out and then relighting, that did create a little bit of a bitterness in the cigar there. So for these cigars in particular, probably wouldn't recommend letting it go out and then relighting. That seems like it's kind of brought down the flavor a bit on the cigar itself. I don't know if you can kind of see, I don't know if this is from the heat or whatnot, but right in that wrapper there, I don't know if you can see that, there's a slight imperfection kind of where the wrapper overlaps itself on that roll around, the last roll around. That's okay though, they're not meant to be pretty. Smoke on this one's pretty thick. Definitely a lot thicker than some cigars that I've had. Not the thickest, of course. Going by level of smoke output, it can definitely contend with the best, that is for sure. So right now the flavors, you got that kind of black pepper in there. Oddly enough, that Dominican twang is kind of disappeared now. Well, I mean, it's still there kind of in the background. So right now what I'm getting flavor wise is it's got the earthy black pepper kind of across my tongue, across my palate, and then right on the edges of my palate is where that Dominican twang still kind of lingers. It's not as prominent as it was before though. So this definitely isn't going to be, I mean, I guess you could make it your everyday smoke. For me, it's not good enough to be an everyday smoke. I've probably got about, I don't know, 10 or so of these left, and I just kind of haul one out every once in a while when I'm ready to sit down and smoke something that I'm not going to be distraught over if I have to put it down or put it out for some reason before I'm actually finished with it. So at this point, it's definitely a drying smoke, and you're going to want something to drink with it. Some high quality H2O does the trick just fine. So I'm coming to you from Michigan, good old Holland, Michigan. We are looking at a pretty nice day ahead of us, I think. Got nice clear blue sky. It's about 66, 67 degrees out right now. Chilling out on the deck. Got the birds chirping, sun is shining. And we got some errands to run today. We're going to spend time with the kiddo. We're going to go out and get some groceries. Maybe go visit some relatives and stuff. I don't know. We'll see where the wind takes us today. Tell you one thing, Daddy needs to get a haircut. So that Dominican twang is starting to come back in, even just in this first little bit here that we're smoking on. Dominican twang is starting to set in a little bit more now that we're getting into it, that black pepper is toned down just a little bit, but it's still kind of coating my tongue. So a lot of that harshness, I'm going to guess, probably comes from the relight itself. Most cigars I haven't had that issue with. Of course, then again, most cigars I don't just put down and let them go out and then re-smoke them. But when I do, I usually don't have that problem. But that's definitely something to watch out for if you are going to put a cigar down or out and then try to relight the smoke again. You're going to end up getting some bitterness in there. What you can do, I don't recommend it, but what you could have done was before lighting, you can kind of cut the tip off at the foot end of the cigar. That way it gives you a nice clean relight. However, when you do that, the wrapper and the binder tend to come apart fairly easy after you relight, so that could definitely compromise the construction of your cigar a little bit. Alright guys, so I think we're going to go ahead and set this one down after the relight's not tasting so well. So you know what, it is what it is. I got plenty more, so I'll review another one if I really need to. But so again, this is the Great Cigars Maduro. Time to wash your hands. This is Big T. Hope you liked my review. If not, oh well. Don't forget to thumbs up if you liked it. Feel free to leave comments. Subscribe for more content. And I will catch you guys later. Stay smoky, my friends.